shakalaka. And we're live. Look at that. Hey, everybody. Welcome to, so this is technically season 2, episode 3 of Power Rangers, the Putty Hour. The Power Rangers
Does it
podcast.
count as episode 3?
I made it count. You know why? Because I suck at math. Math's hard. And I wanted to make it, because I looked at the old episode and okay, you know what? We're not going to get sidetracked. You're already sidetracking me. We have an amazing guest today. God, haven't even made it 5 seconds of the show. We have an amazing guest today, Eric Berry. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. A huge fan of the podcast. Tell everybody a little bit where you're from. They already know.
Yeah. My name's Eric Berry, also known as Trekkie B47 from the Ranger Command Power Hour. We just passed our 8th anniversary in January. And have a lot of Power Ranger news and discussions on the podcast, as well as comic reviews and other news on our site at rangercommand.com. So I'm really excited to be here. I know my buddy Chris has been on here a few times, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
For diluting your brand with us.
No, not at all.
Congrats, by the way, on the 8 years. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Huge fan of the show and what you guys do. We're gonna talk a little bit. It's been a minute since we talked to Chris last time around, so there's been some things building up, as it were. So we have some topics to get to, some things that I know you've covered somewhat on the show as well.
Yeah, a little bit, but finally some news, because we were in that period of 3 to 4 months of just barely anything with Power Rangers, except for the comics, which come out monthly.
And it felt like for a minute, there was such a big ruckus when the movie stuff started kind of leaking out, and Netflix universe, and then zip, there's nothing. It's for a while, and now all of a sudden it's Dino Fury's hitting, and we have new episodes, and then the comics are all changing and discombobulating, and now Renegade just hit us with a bunch of stuff, and so and then of course some of the OGs are still making news and everything. So you know what? Okay, so let's start with comics, because the latest, and by the way, spoilers incoming for this week's Mighty Morphin. If you haven't read it yet, I apologize, but I'm going to. One of the cool things, I actually just really dug the issue overall, because I always like what Ryan does with Rocky, but then with Matt taking over, it's kind of the tone is consistent, but there's a new, I don't know, it does feel new. It feels like it's building on some things, and one of them, Rocky, is a huge beneficiary of this kind of increased attention. But by the end, it's oh, okay, so we're kind of moving seasons a little bit,
a little bit. We're getting a taste of things to come.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about moving into that territory and kind of slowly but surely? I mean, the comics have jumped around a little bit anyway. They brought in space stuff, and in the past they've even brought in Lost Galaxy and things like that. But in the core kind of main series as it moves on, it's majoritively been Mighty Morphin. So do we like that? Do we like the choice?
Yeah, I like the choice, because with Eltarian War, it was establishing a lot more of that lore, with the Zeo Crystal and Zordon's backstory. And what the great thing about the comics building these things, like you mentioned, Lost Galaxy, Promethea being Terra Venture, and stuff like that, with the introduction of Zeo, but not kind of, because we did the Zeo Crystal, which was the big kind of finale part for the Eltarian War, and now we're bringing a splinter of that machine empire into this, and I like it, because it's you're getting a taste of what's to come in the overall Power Rangers universe, in the comics timeline. I think it's smart.
I can't remember, Nick. Where do you stand on Zeo? Is he? You're a Turbo diehard.
No, I loved all of that. Like I was in it completely. In terms of being one grand story that was just you even had like a passing of the torch several times, and in terms of getting all the way until the end of space, was all in. And then some stuff happened after that. But in terms of the comics, I'm all for moving ahead because I have lapsed on them. Because there's only so much Mighty Morphin and Mighty Morphin adjacent that you can really dig into.
Untrue, Nick. Merchandising sales say untrue.
I mean, look, I'm gonna buy like all the helmets and stuff, of course.
Of course,
like, merchandise is merchandise.
You're part of the problem. You're part of the
problem. I mean, that all speaks to me. But in terms of, it's always fun when you get the elements of the grander universe, and so moving forward in the quote unquote canon. It's great to have those little extra pieces that aren't necessarily like part of the original show, but also, something that is just part of the grander universe. And I appreciate that.
Also, I just like that it's okay. There are a lot of Power Rangers villains and to a varying degree, some of them are actually like come across as lethal. The Machine Empire is not one of those factions that comes across as like, oh, that's a legit threat. So I actually appreciated, us trying to actually make them feel like a bit dangerous, even if it's just by
why not?
Volume, right? Because it's nice. Like, I don't know. The Machine Empire always comes across as like super cuddly to me, and it shouldn't.
But yeah, in this comic, like just these like new foot soldiers, like these more cog, like unicycle cog robots, they feel like a deadlier threat, and they all kind of got that King Mondo face almost. But what I appreciate with writer Matt Groom, who does like the Ranger Danger podcast, and taking a deep cut, like literally this King Aerodon was mentioned once in the show, and it was such a throwaway line. He was the father of Archerina, and to have a whole new character for the comics expanding that lore. And that's what I think the brilliant thing with the comics is, like we're talking about, it's expanding those little pieces of lore into something much larger. And to have Rocky be alone with with Matt as the Green Ranger, and bring those two characters together and increase their storyline, I'm very excited for however long this like arc is going to be.
Agreed. I mean, just look at the Morphin Masters, right? Like that. Yeah. It's amazing to see what the sheer amount of content that has come out revolving around them. Yeah. And it was just a scene, it's just like, it kind of boggles the mind. And I love that. And plus I love all the original creations. And, that's one of the things I've liked about Ryan's run. I love Dane. I love Kira. I love Yale. Like I love these new additions. So I'm very excited to see what Matt can kind of bring to that as well.
For sure.
And it's also good to just shake up the teams every so often.
And even in this issue, Grace is talking to her assistant, Michael Zaskin, who was in like a minor character in Time Force, helping out Wes's dad. And that was something on their podcast that
Seeds.
They're planting the seeds. And that was something on their podcast where they just fell in love with this Zaskin character when they were reviewing Time Force. And they were saying back then, it would be great if this guy got more spotlight or was weaved into the universe in some way. And now that Matt's writing for it, he has the opportunity to add that lore to it, which, I mean, that's incredible for him as a fan, just to see that journey that he's taken. So I'm really excited for his run.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course the Omega Rangers are still like, I love that book every month. That's one of my favorite series, just period. I read a lot of comics, but that's like one of my favorites month in and month out. And excited to see where that goes. And Universe is still clicking along. It's like been hit and miss with me, but like I still like some of the ideas. But moving on from the comics, because there was a lot of great tabletop stuff today. Everyone knows I'm a tabletop nerd. So Renegade had a bunch of great stuff for us. Number one, the actual RPG, the role-playing game that just released its core book, just got miniatures. I need those. I like to have. I mean, look, I've played a lot of role-playing games where like I didn't have a miniature, and that's fine. I can use my imagination. I can sit there and go like, oh, it's cool. But man, there's something about like having. It can be the dinkiest little cardboard thing. It's just about having that like representation on the table, and then if I get to paint it and I get to do stuff, and like, yes, I'm very excited. I once had a bard where I painted little Twinkies in the knapsack just because it didn't really fit the time. It wasn't like time accurate, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So like, I love to do stuff like this. So Power Rangers doing that, and then also, which is great. And then also they actually have the Adventures in Angel Grove set, so you're getting more story content, which is awesome. That book, I mean, the core just came out, so the fact that we've already got these editions in the pipeline is great. I mean, they're up for pre-order; they're not out yet, but I do love that. And then the two that I was most excited about were the additions to the deck building game, because I've really enjoyed Renegade's deck building games, the G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Power Rangers. And now we're getting, because there was already the Zeo expansion, now we're getting the Omega Forever expansion. And as I previously said, that is like right at my alley. But we're also getting RPM. And I didn't see that coming. I'm not gonna lie.
Get in gear. Get in gear.
I didn't. That one was kind of out of left field. Like I was like, oh snap! Like that's awesome. So a lot of really good stuff coming for those games. Is there one in particular you guys are excited for?
I'm a little bit more excited for the Heroes of the Grid expansions. I've been collecting the deck building sets, but I haven't had a chance to play it. I'm just more of a fan for the artwork, and especially this RPM set with Dan Mora doing the whole team of RPM Rangers is incredible. So I'm collecting these. I'm just waiting for a chance to actually get together with people and play these finally. But yeah, I'm collecting them as they come out, but I'm definitely more excited on the Heroes of the Grid side because I've got all of those sets. I love the larger miniatures.
Yeah.
For the RPG, like I got the core rule book, but I haven't had a chance to play it out yet. But I probably won't get the miniatures for that one just because I'm sticking with Heroes of the Grid miniatures. But no, I'm excited for all of these. These are pretty cool.
And to be fair, you could just use your Heroes of the Grid minis
exactly
for that if you really wanted to. Nick,
I had no idea that there was a full RPG. This is the one. Okay, so that's the one I've been waiting for. Like that's what I thought that Heroes of the Grid was at first. Yeah, I thought I and now is the perfect time too because my schedule's opening up in terms of I was thinking D&D maybe, but like now that there's a Power Rangers one, that kind of settles it for me. Like
the rule book is massive too. I actually I have it actually.
Oh, show and tell. I'm a dork.
No, so this is the core rule book.
Ooh, pretty.
Ooh,
and,
okay.
I mean, this thing is just packed, and it's got a ton of comic book artwork, and some original artwork too. But yeah, this thing is massive. We actually did like a kind of a character creation session on our anniversary episode, and my friend and co-host Zach, who's a big D&D player, I mean, he was getting like confused at this new system. So it's definitely a new system. Okay. I think it's the Essence 20 system, which is a new system that Renegade has created. So I guess for D&D players, this is going to be kind of a learning curve. And then I also got the first expansion, the Gun for Punishment. So yeah, I'm excited to eventually do this campaign because I haven't done D&D or role playing like that in the past. So I'm excited for people to help me learn what the hell this is all about.
I can't remember if Renegade works with Roll20 or not. I cannot remember for the life of me because Roll20 works with several, but I can't remember if Renegade is one of them. But this is one that, like, if there were a Roll20 module for this,
yeah,
I would love to run that because I can't just go over to Nick's house.
I think this was their answer.
I
think this was their answer for Roll20. What is that, like the online?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So what is it? D&D Beyond, I believe, is like Wizards of the Coast, like the official kind of like where you have all the access to all the online books, and you can do sessions in there and character sheets and all that. But Roll20 has like a version of that, and then you can like do everything from, it will roll dice for you. It will keep track of all the, the spells and things like that, and like tell you, like it can do a lot. And then since they launched, they've partnered with a lot of people to do like official things, so that way like everything works like it's supposed to, and they have all the artwork and stuff.
Have they done that with Heroes of the Grid at all? Have they?
They have not that I know of.
Okay,
that one tends to be more like catered towards like role-playing, like traditional role-playing systems.
Sure.
But, and I gotta check, so like there's always like Tabletopia, and there's Board Game Arena is kind of the newer one on the scene, and I know those are adding games by the week, and those are doing a lot of that where they're like adapting a game to where you can play it online with people.
Because I would love to play this online with people. I have all the Heroes of the Grid expansions, and I haven't even played with anyone. I had some friends over New Year's 2020, like right before the pandemic, and we tried busting out a session and learning the rules, and it was a lot of fun, but it was also like confusing and trying to keep track of everything. So I would love to play this game online with people.
Okay, well, it is decided that if we figure out how to do it,
run a game of this.
We're gonna do it, damn it. Because I just call Ranger Slayer now. Can I just do that?
You can have it. You can have
my favorite. Don't say it like that. I don't need your pity. Jesus, she's awesome. Oh, what you're talking about right there? All that spice. All right, well, so that's awesome stuff going on in the tabletop world. Also, the Essence system is also like, if you like the Power Rangers role-playing game, you're also probably going to dig the G.I. Joe one and the Transformers one, since they all kind of use the universal system. Like,
and they can all cross over. They can all cross over. Apparently, you can have G.I. Joes fighting Power Rangers and Transformers.
And G.I. Joe and Transformers just got their expansions.
That changes everything. We need to,
I also did they announce today the My Little Pony deck building game too, which I know some people will be huge fans of that.
There you go.
I think my daughter was at our local comic store, and she was very much wanting the green My Little Pony. I don't know their names, but the green My Little Pony.
You will soon.
I know. Well, I was like, oh, that's done. Yeah. She bought a Transformer and wanted a pony, and I was like, all right, well, sign me up for that. Okay, we're gonna do that. So moving into, I'm actually going to take a quick detour in the layout, because this is interesting. So this got a lot of people talking. Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, of course. I don't have to introduce her. People know who she is. She's also a feature film director, and now she's directing TV, and she just directed a really good episode of Superman.
It was really good. It
was really good. I love that show anyway. But she got people talking when she tweeted basically the thing of like, it's crazy if the original cast like is not involved. And I've got the tweet linked here because I don't exactly remember like the verbatim tweet. So let me click on it, so I don't want to be accused of like,
let's not jump on the tweet out of like not
accurate
context, right? So,
all right, here we go. Can I just say, I think it's really dumb if the new Power Rangers universe doesn't use or acknowledge the OGs. Just saying. Power Rangers, can I get an amen? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was close. I think that was a pretty good summation of that. I don't know. That was pretty good.
Not entirely, though. There's a whole part of that, of the whole acknowledging, right? Because that's a loaded term already. Because it's like, is she referring to just acknowledging the brand, which is what they do on the dailies, what we just keep mentioning right now, or the legitimate OG cast?
That's something that we have to consider when she's saying OGs. Is she referring to the OG characters like Jason, Trini,
yes,
or is she referring to the OG cast? So there's two radically different insinuations of what she's bringing up. Because if she's referring to the cast, like the actors, then it can be taken as, why aren't we in this new project? Right. Versus the characters, why aren't they using the characters in this new iteration? So
yeah, it really changes the message.
I think I agree with you. I think okay, so after reading that, I took it as, oh, she's talking about the original cast, because the original characters are still being used in a variety of ways. I mean, we just talked about all these board games. They're all referenced, right? Mm-hmm. Like they
were in the movie. They were in the 2017 movie.
They're
or 2014 or whatever.
Dino Fury refers to them. I mean, like it.
Yes.
So like they are, and the toys are still like, so okay. So, and also whenever that movie reboot happens, I don't think there's almost any chance that like Jason, Kimberly, these names aren't used. Whether they change the last names or they look different or whatever, obviously, of course, but like the names, $10 says they'll be the same, at least the first names. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's the case. I think she's talking about the original cast, because we've seen that become, I mean, she's even talked about like she even talked about the movie, the previous reboot, when like she only, like that wasn't something that like they reached out initially and said like, oh, come be in this. Like she's even said like in an interview, like she had to kind of reach out and kind of ask for that. Like, that wasn't just something like, oh yeah, let's get the cast involved.
Well, that's the thing. Like when the 2017 movie hit, that was still all Saban brands and all that. Now we're dealing with Hasbro. So you have to ask the question, why is she bringing up now? Did she hear something and is disappointed in their direction?
Right.
Or, what's the deal there?
That would be my assumption.
Because we saw the response. The response was huge online. And and we have to also consider that she's really good friends with David Yost, and he's working on that quantum continuum that he keeps mentioning, which I find a little annoying. It's like, why get a whole bunch of fans like involved in promoting it? Like, why not just pitch it, kind of a thing? And that's what kind of irked me about what was going on with Amy Jo Johnson. It's like kind of drumming up this fan hype just to get like eyes on it, essentially.
Now, so yes, because that thing, that was the Mighty Morphin reunion thing that he's been, because he's been working on that for a minute, because that was originally like he was talking about it kind of like a Netflix reunion thing, and then that's kind of morphed into something else entirely. And then Amy Jo talked about at that Comic-Con or at that convention where she mentioned that Boom comic series, and then I asked her about it in an interview, and she couldn't tell me anything. So so there does lend some things of like, okay, we know of some plans, and maybe that's that sucks. That, like,
but are they actually happening, or are they trying to push them to happen? That's the thing.
So it was funny because when we talked, I also asked her about like if she would, because her two movies, Space Between, and then I think it's Amy is Always Dying, is like they're both good. Like they're both really good. I actually really enjoyed all of them. I enjoyed her like YouTube series that, like, it ended up being like a short, but it was
there's no question she's a talented writer and producer and director. There's no question there.
And so then she's now doing like superhero TV, and like that's awesome, right? So when I asked her, I was like, hey, would you like be up for like directing an episode of the show? Like, would you ever be kind of end up like be interested in like returning that way and directing that, or just like, how would you want to be involved? I mean, she definitely wants the feature film. I mean, she was like, I would want them to like ask me to to direct that. But then it was also when I asked about the show, because I was like, okay, well, that would be interesting, because no one else can really do, like, no one else is in that space of like that original cast of like they're directing things, and they could conceivably like take on something aside from like a title, you know what I mean, or a writing credit or something. Like,
yeah, there's no question, she's like, out of the original cast, she's the most super talented when it comes to the production and the other side of the acting.
Like she's in that space where she could actually conceivably do it and like take it on or whatever. But then she brought up the she was like, they're still non-union, right? They're still non-union, right? And they're in New Zealand. And you know, she's got a daughter, she's got a 13-year-old, and it's like, you don't want to be over there. But I thought it was hilarious. So I was like, I think I want to stick with the feature film. I was like, you know what? I don't even blame you. I think that and I was kind of honestly shocked, because, you know, if the franchise, especially, look, the nostalgia is never gonna die for Mighty Morphin. Ever. It's never gonna die.
I'll keep it alive myself if I have to.
So, you know, if that's the case, and you have someone in that original group that brings, number one, the nostalgia impact with them, which she is one, even just taking, she's part of the original cast aside, she's the original Pink Ranger, she's one of the most popular on the show.
Right.
So if you have that in your wheelhouse, why not use that? Like, to me, that is kind of, I don't know. To me, there is a little bit of like, I can see why she in particular is kind of like maybe pushing a little bit, because like to me, it just doesn't make any sense anyway. Like, why wouldn't you use that, especially for a brand that you're trying to get in front of more people?
And especially because especially because they've already gone through the effort of reintroducing characters, you know, and reintroducing ideas from like Dino Fury season 2, which we'll talk about in a second, shows the clip of the shark cycle scene. So it's like you go as far as playing clips of the old show with I believe that the voices are still the same. I know they've done some redubbing in the past of older clips, but that goes to the point of like, you're going as far as introducing the rest of the package. Why not have someone to fill the package, the actual person, you know?
Agreed. Eric, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that, you know, also David Yost, he's also produced for TV before, and, you know, now he's taken a chance at writing with this Quantum Continuum script that he's working on, supposedly. So I think out of all the original cast, you have, you know, two very talented individuals out of the cast that are, you know, willing to do that. And the 30th anniversary is like next year. Like, you got to start working on that stuff now if you want it to air during the actual 30th anniversary. And that's what has me concerned. Like, what's Hasbro doing in terms of like, are they aware of it? I mean, heck, there was you know, linked, or there was like Hasbro career site, you know, they were looking for a new marketing manager for the Power Rangers side of it. So it's like, what's the direction? Where's this ship steering towards? And what are the plans for the 30th anniversary? Because there's not too many franchises that hit 30 years, and it's a big milestone.
It's a huge milestone, and I think the last look, they are. I don't know. I guess I would assume there are some assumptions here, but I would assume you don't buy a franchise for what was the amount?
$500 million.
You don't buy that without knowing the baggage it comes with. And if you want to get it in front of, you know, and I know like the Lightning Collection, there have been, you know, quality issues of, you know, paint app stuff and wrong design. Like, there's been issues, right? Sure. But if I look overall, like if I look at the overall kind of bigger picture of things,
overall, like, Lightning Collection is very, very nice.
I'm really happy with it. Right. And I also look into, okay, like they fixed some things, they've adjusted some things that people had complaints with before. So I go, okay, well, especially if they've got this like interconnected Netflix / you know, we're going time travel, all that, if all that stuff ends up actually being true, I just think they went in also knowing that, okay, if we have to hit something out of the park coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
A 30th anniversary is a pretty big deal, especially in Power Rangers, because I'm sorry, that almost no other franchise does anniversaries and gives them as much importance as like Power Rangers does. I mean, it kind of goes like, you know, goes like husband wife anniversary and then like Power Rangers. Like that's a like a level of importance that they always put up there, right? Like it's just they take it super seriously, which I love, which is awesome, and that's what makes them special. So there were some very genuine misses in the past.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that at least they have some kind of idea, but I agree with you. I think that the sooner the better of like starting to trickle some of these things to where like some of the puzzle pieces start to connect and you go, okay, there's a plan. I don't need to know everything, but I need to know that.
Yeah, we don't need to know everything, but at the same time, you know, they made that Entwistle announcement, you know, a year and almost a year and a half ago. And, you know, I know pre-production and that kind of stuff takes time, but at the same time, we have a very impatient fandom where, I mean, they're just craving news. It's like as soon as like the tiniest little morsel or hint of news, the fandom is on it and talking about it. And that's why I think everyone went nuts with Amy Jo's comment, and there was speculating and all that stuff. And by the next day, she just kind of did like a eye roll emoji or whatever, or laughing emoji, like, and saying, you know, don't assume you guys know everything or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you kind of baited it out there. You created your own problem.
Yeah, you kind of put that out there, you know.
Right.
Agreed. So that actually leads us to the last kind of topic of this first part, which is, you know, after Dino Fury, which Dino Fury first half season 2 is out. People are really excited about it. But after Dino Fury, we know all of the talk, all the stuff we're talking about, you know, not knowing things. And people are very curious as to the future of this franchise because it has always been, there's so many traditions when it comes to this franchise of, oh, we adapt this and we move this over and we redo this. And more, it seems to look like, you know, that might be that previous structure of how the show is created is not going to be that way for forevermore, maybe within the next 5-10 years. Crap, maybe in the next 2, right? So is it, do you, I look at Twitter whenever like something hits like related to this, and I just like, it's always interesting. It never lets me down. It's always entertaining to see like the discourse of like, oh my God, no, you can't leave Sentai in the dust. And then
what a disrespect to the franchise.
I need bulldozers that are monsters, and then you see like the other of like, oh my God, it's about time. You see, like we're good, like we need new stuff and original things, and you see these two clash, and like that's a problem that honestly every successful franchise has.
Sure,
is those two areas of the fandom coming together. But Power Rangers is kind of at one of those crossroads, and it's very important as to what happens next. So do you want to see some of the newer and even some of the older? I mean, we saw Beast Morphers, they can pull stuff from a bit back and make it, spruce it all up. Do you want them to keep adapting, or do you want to see Hasbro just embrace and just go for something completely their own?
It's for me, it's a mixed bag, and I can drop this little gem. I actually interviewed Simon Bennett today for Ranger Command, and we got that episode coming out on Saturday. And you know, I asked him about the Madame Noir costume from Tokuger and why it was adapted for for Dino Fury season 2, and he pretty much said it's because Tokuger is completely off the table. That's why they've been using those suit designs. So I got legit confirmation from the executive producer. Tokuger is completely off the table. That's why they use Cosmo Royale for Super Ninja Steel. That's why they were able to use Madame Noir for Dino Fury. So I've loved Power Rangers from the beginning. There is a certain charm with this franchise about taking footage from the Japanese show, taking those costumes and remixing it and doing it for Power Rangers. That's been the formula for 29 years, and it's been continuously on the air for those 29 years. And so there's a formula to it, and people like that formula. At the other hand, I would be intrigued to see what an original, like if we can do it on our own. And the past few years, we've seen that they've been able to use more and more original footage to craft their own stories. So if we were able to design our own suits, which is not unheard of because they did it for Hyperforce.
Right.
We had a completely original design
and those
team.
Looked dope.
They're sick. and there was no involvement on the Sentai side or the Toei side for Hyperforce. It was Peter Sudarso designed those suits because he's a Power Rangers fan. He knows the formula, and he extrapolated something that was from Time Force. And those suits are dope. What they do in the comics, the Omega Rangers, completely designed. I love that fresh design. So I'm on the fence. I would love to see some of the newer Sentai get adapted. I think a Zyuohger adaptation would be great.
That would be my pick.
Because over the past few years, we've had so many technology seasons. I would love a go back to basics 30th anniversary, almost like a call back to Wild Force, like a Zyuohger adaptation. I would love something like that. But at the same time, if they were to say, no, we're never doing a Sentai adaptation again, we're doing something original, I'm also intrigued because we've seen over the past few years, we can do something original. And to see something completely, American or New Zealand made or Canada or wherever they decide to make this, I think would be pretty dope. And animation, if that's a thing. I don't know.
I would happily take an animated series or movie, really.
I've been waiting on that for 20 years.
It makes like all the sense in the world, but it's probably because of the Toei side of things. But speaking of the Toei side, they've already been changing the formula far beyond like what Sentai was before. Like, and it started getting. Matt has heard me say this on time and time again. Like, I don't like the space ones. I forget. Like, I'm blanking on the name right now. Here I go, making everyone angry at this. But like the ones where there's like 12, and then they're all like super bulky, and then there's like a.
I love those. I love those suits.
So good, man. They don't look like Power Ranger suits. They look like Super
That's
Sentai,
why I like
which is but also if you're looking at this as a Power Rangers brand and adapting, you would want the ones that are like more closely resembling the other things. You don't want such a sudden shakeup. And then you have stuff like Dawn Brothers right now.
I was gonna say like that just like spits in the face of that.
That's out. I don't know.
But and then before that, they had something completely unusable too, with like the anniversary, whatever at Zenkaiger, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. Yes. So like you look at all that stuff, and if I'm Hasbro business executive making these choices, I'm gonna look at that and go, well, why don't we just do our own thing? Like, because clearly the well is running dry here. So I would.
Yeah, I would love to see a Q Ranger adaptation. That's the one you're talking about the bulky suits. Just because
there we go. Yes.
Just because there could be so many references to the past. You could do a space season right and reference like Aquitar. You could have the yellow swordfish guy like from Aquitar. You can have the blue wolf guy from Sirius, like SPD. There's so many things that you could connect that would make an amazing 30th anniversary. Like the Gold Ranger with the scales, he could be from Triforia. Like there's so many creative things that could happen with that particular season that would be increcible. But they've already kind of thrown that off the table as saying that there's too many characters.
Which that argument I understand it in theory. I do.
You mean
right?
I understand the argument of there's too many people and they don't get enough spotlight.
They have at most 40 episodes.
But then again, you get rid of like the parent characters, the comedy relief characters. You just make the same number of people in your cast as
the Rangers. Yeah,
and
like
some
that's
of
it.
And they did it with Beast Morphers, with the Beast Bots. You could have just some characters that never unmorph, and Q Ranger had that. They had 4 suit characters that were just big suits, and you could have the same thing. And I'd be all for Kelson Henderson coming back to voice another character in Power Rangers.
I'm always up for him like that. Yeah. No, I agree. Look,
I loved him in Mick in the first season of Dino Fury. Even I didn't
that was such a good episode.
I didn't like Super Ninja Steel or Ninja Steel, but I liked Mick and I liked Kelson, and to see him back in Dino Fury was amazing.
That hair, man. No one can rock that hair like he can.
That's a very good point.
I agree with me and Nick have gone back and forth on that season. I want that season, and frankly, I would like that to be the last one.
Yeah,
I would like that.
You could do the blowout references.
Yeah.
Just go balls to the wall. Do In Space right. Visit all these past planets for Power Rangers, and just do a knockout incredible season. End it on your 30th. Boom. Drop the mic. You're done.
Even though, I mean, look, it would give a worthy sequel to one of the best Power Ranger seasons ever, In Space.
Yep. You could have someone from KO 35. You could have them.
You could do so much. You could do
do a ton.
And those suits rule, Nick. Also,
bringing this conversation back a little bit, would you bring back someone from the original cast for this? Like,
if I was Hasbro, I would either bring back one of the OGs as a mentor, or
bring back Andros.
Yeah, something like that. Just bring back someone as a legacy character, like what they did with Dino Thunder.
Or, now here's the thing. If you bring back Andros and you put him back in the robe, you could sell all those figures that
that are sitting on Target shelves.
Right? All of a sudden they're super rare. You want all those. I think it's a win-win, personally. But what's funny is I also think that it is time to that. To me, that would be the dream final season. You blow that out. You have a lot of places you can do establishing lore and stuff like that. And you can also use it to establish your next thing. You can use that season would be a perfect launching point.
The jumping off point.
Yeah. And then do Dino Fury has a ton of original footage. A lot.
And it's got a ton of references to the past, which I feel like it almost feels like this season is kind of their blowout with the Morphin Masters and taking it back to dinos. And I kind of get that feeling. I kind of get that feeling like this is the blowout. This is bring back Lord Zed.
Yeah.
That was huge.
That's a big
one. And they're saving him for the second half of the series because we didn't see him in this first half. And I'm like,
right. Yeah.
You left that door wide open.
Keeper was in this. I mean, it's insane that I agree. They probably
I wouldn't mind a giant Zed serving as the final boss, in terms of just because you can even out the Void Queen stuff in the penultimate episode, and then just have Zed be a final if it is the blowout,
And then it's time for something. I think it's time for an original look. We've seen, even outside of the Power Rangers franchise, look what Radiant Black is doing in that Radiant verse. And you can kill costume design and still have the same aesthetic and still feel like it's from the same.
That super massive issue when they did their version of the morph and they had that full panel reveal, you flip a double page spread. I lost my mind. I'm like, this is original superheroes that are Toku inspired, and they're crushing it. They're crushing it.
And Rogue Sun is awesome. I am very hyped for people to read more of that.
And Radiant Red, they're doing that
so good. Series. Yes, it's so good. And then Matt's books. Thank you.
Inferno Girl Red.
That, look, to me, she stole the show in Supermassive.
100%. And that issue made me more excited for my Kickstarter pledge. I want to read that. I want to read her origins. I want to read her story.
Yeah. So you can do that and you can have style, and you can launch this new thing, and you can still tether all the stuff to the original.
You can have the same tropes. You can have all of that.
But I think I'm ready for an original take. So here's hoping that's what because that's my vote. And then you'll have the movies and stuff to do. Like,
sure.
If I would imagine some of that time travel and 90s aesthetic stuff is probably true. So you have that to capture all that. But in your series,
they'll reboot the Morphin Grid or something. Like it'll just reset everything. Yeah. None of this ever happened. Back in.
Yeah. Well, look, we're in the age of multiverses for all these different franchises. The comic books are their own thing. Hyperforce was a timeline. Even the original 95 movie for Power Rangers, that's an alternate timeline. So Power Rangers has had this building universe, and granted, the TV show universe and why everyone likes in continuity is because it feels like that ongoing narrative of the legacy. You know what I mean? So there's room for a multiverse, and you don't have to trash 29 years of your other universe. It's just now acknowledge that as like a Star Trek thing. You've got your Prime universe and you've got your whatever universe over here, but it's all Power Rangers. And I don't care what they do. I just give me more Power Rangers. Like whatever it is, I'm open to it. It may suck at the end of the day, but at least it's more Power Rangers.
I mean, and that's being a Power Rangers fan more so than anything else, right? Like you take the bad with the good, you'll get some rough seasons, but then you sit through it and you're like, oh, that was fine in retrospect because I got this really good season after this. So
exactly.
That's a perfect segue, Nick. A perfect segue to our final topic of the show. Wow, man, amazing!
Just killing it.
That was so good, man. So we're gonna talk about Dino Fury season 2 because I think I'm an unabashed lover of Dino Fury season 1. I adore this cast. And I love some of the fun story beats and characters that we had in season 1. So season 2 now, it's on Netflix. This is the binge model. I am a huge fan of that model, but I also understand that people got lives and stuff. So we're not going to spoil all the episodes that are out, or whatever. Just the first 3. So if you haven't watched those yet, hey, cool. But I thought 3 was fair.
Yeah, 3's fine.
I mean, it's like half-hour episodes. You know what I mean? Like 3 is good. That's an hour and a half.
And that's what we're doing on Ranger Command. When we review these episodes, we're taking them in 3-episode chunks because I know people have lives.
Right.
I don't have one, so that's why
I was going to say, I saw
that's
the
why
whole thing.
That's why I binged the whole thing in the past 2 days. But they're fun. These are fun episodes that are building off season 1. And some of the storylines they've got going in this second season, everything is just more ramped up. It's ramped up.
And they're taking look, one of the things I adored in the first season was just this show has nailed battle banter better than a lot of previous seasons. It's there. Yes, you still have every so often you have your very forced
cheesy pun.
Yeah, and it's really
to give them credit, they do highlight that a lot.
Right, and they make fun of it. So I let it slide because a lot of times they'll call it out. Someone else in the thing will call it out or whatever. But
or it's Javi's character trait. He's been practicing this. I mean, to not get into the specifics of. I forget which episodes of the first 3, so forgive me on that. But yeah, that's Javi's thing. I feel like he's gonna nail it at the end of the season, maybe. He's gonna get a real good pun in there.
But I laughed out loud when anytime that Zato and Amelia have back and forth, because those are some of my favorite. But the BRB. And when he goes I'm gonna burb, and she's like, "Oh my god, I told him it's BRB," and she's still fighting. I genuinely laughed out loud. I was like, "Oh my god, that's brilliant." I love that back and forth. The Amelia, I can't remember what they call these cakes.
The Flargon cakes.
Yeah. Okay. So when they're all doing that, and it's a very if anyone's watched Friends and the famous truffle episode where
yeah,
it's that, right? But it's executed so well. So like, of course, half of them are like kind of almost vomiting and they don't like it, and then like Amelia's like, I dig this, and
but
like,
that's a hint. Is she
right?
Is she Rathconian? Wink, wink.
But like something like that, kind of that little nugget in any other season would be like, no, they're not gonna go. They're not gonna do that because that would take that. It's not gonna go that deep. But Dino Fury has established that like stuff like that happens. Stuff like that they're always kind of building.
Her parents missing.
Yeah.
Just saying they've done these small seeds and these nuggets. They've planted these seeds. And I think this second half, when they're going to do this later in the year, we're going to get so many questions answered. And you know, to tease the interview with Simon a little bit, he said that there are so many payoffs in this second half of the second season. And he directed the last 2 episodes. He directed the finale. Nice. And they're still finishing touches on the VFX because he said that it is effects heavy, these last 2 episodes. So take that what you will.
Ooh.
But this whole Dino Fury, it's been building. And all of the story elements keep building up on each other. Even these so-called filler episodes, they're still,
they don't feel like filler.
No, they don't. And
just
this whole run of episodes, I know we're only talking about the first 3, but everything with the Garcia family and how much that storyline has paid off is great to see in Power Rangers. We got a mom and dad for a Power Rangers family. Like, I mean, let's give it up for that. We have a full family unit.
They're not just aimlessly wandering out about themselves. They're always like, they're never home. How do you like sustain?
And they're not just like, it's not just MMPR style where they're just wearing their kids' clothes, just a version of it. Do you remember that stuff? And like, it's wild too, because in terms of the overall, speaking of effects and like, in terms of the overall production, the brand new footage is incredible. I believe episode 2 has the rooftop stuff, which is just like, wow, this is in a Power Ranger show. And I don't know a lot about Yusoga, so I don't know how much is from the Sentai and how much is original.
A lot of this season is original footage.
There's some drone shots in here, and it's very well done.
Some of that is from Rue Soldier because
then good.
Sentai has been doing, especially they started doing that in Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger. Like there's been a lot more drone shots and flying into monster. So I mean, they're still being innovative on the Sentai side, but it's getting harder and harder to tell, especially this season.
Right.
The difference between Sentai. Like the only reason I notice it is because the Sentai suits are a little bit more shiny. But if I didn't know that, it would seem a lot more seamless.
And I mean, geez, just take the freaking Ravcon battle scene from the first season. Like that's something that you don't. I mean, that alone was kind of, I remember seeing that and was like, oh, wow, that's impressive. That was probably their entire budget. And then I didn't expect it for the rest of the season because I was like, oh, well, they're out of money because there's no way that didn't cost a fortune. But then like you still saw them kind of meet that bar throughout and stuff looks really good. So yeah, but like these characters, man, they're so fun and battles are fun to watch now. They were fun sometimes, but they're fun to watch now.
That second episode with the bike, that reminded me so much of the Disney seasons, like where they would just pull out the CGI bikes and go to town with them. And that was nostalgic. And there are a few episodes here where they filmed like the classic, like almost Disney season explosions in the background, like
when
Javi gets the power-up armor and it explodes in the background. That's a classic Disney explosion, Kailash explosion shot.
That's what it felt like. in terms of the characters too, something I've appreciated. I mean, season 1 was like a lot of the bricks needed to be built. You know, you needed to set up a lot of it. It still felt like, yeah, this was coming together, but season 2 immediately feels like, okay, we already know everybody. Now let's introduce the wrinkles. Let's have them. Let's let them be jerks to each other. Let's let them actually make these critical mistakes and make these and that's something I appreciate. It's not automatically a bad thing that I know I can't get into super details about what comes later, but it's just I like that there are edges to them now that we know them. It's like oh, we're getting to know the uglier sides of each character, and that's something we haven't gotten in a Power Ranger season in a long time.
And it feels more natural because there was one episode that I'm like, Ollie, you are such a jerk. Why are you continuously being a freaking jerk? Get the message. And when he finally did get the message and finally understood, like that was a great moment.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like there was a the episode where it's like all about the nunchucks early on, right? I was kind of like, okay, in past
the Dino Chucks,
in past shows,
Jungle Fury vibes,
but again, right? So it's an absurd name, and then I like that they point it out because they're like, no, that's a terrible name. Like I like that acknowledgement, but also like in past shows, the whole episode would have literally been about the Dino Chucks.
Yep.
Yeah, there would have been settled by Act 1. Yeah.
Right. And there would have been no extending like development or anything. It's like, oh my God, he broke my chucks. You know, it's like that's not a whole focal point for an episode. That's an SNL skit. That's not what you do, right? And so I like that they're actually building on that. But also to move into our last thing before we got shit out of here. So with the episodes you've seen so far of Dino Fury, are there any of the Rangers that have moved into your top 10 of their respective colors? Obviously, not like your top 10 of all time, but like, is Javi in your top Black Rangers? Is like Zato in your top Reds? Are there any that have moved to that point, or that you foresee moving by the end of this series?
Ooh,
Izzy's definitely on my top 10 for Green Rangers, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's I don't know. I would almost say that's a win across the board.
Yeah,
But also Zato. I think Zato has cracked into my top 10 of Reds.
Amelia has hit my top 10 of Pinks. She's awesome. She's so fun and just like I think that character does so much too for the other characters.
Yes,
and I feel the same way about Tessa. Actually, I feel like when they are with other people,
it enhances the scene.
Like it just clicks. And
there's a warmth to Amelia and just the actress. What I think the actress brings, like Hunter, I think she has killed the character of Amelia. Like she has absolutely crushed it. And the scenes with her and Zato, my co-host Zach ships her and Ollie. I ship her and Zato.
Oh my God! What, her and Ollie?
Because there's that love-hate tension.
And they were introduced in the first episode together. And if we know Power Rangers,
there's opposites attract, and
Ollie's whole
thank you. You're on my side.
Ollie's whole journey has been about him being less of a jerk, and who is more of like the one showing this to him, who is the mirror, and in herself finding out also like, oh, I can be more confident about the things I like. And
here's the thing. You know what? That strikes a little too close to home for me and the journey that my life went through. I don't need that real, in my damn Power Rangers. I want escapism.
I mean,
that's why I love Zato and Amelia.
Yes,
I love this cast. Like I would say all 100%, all 6 of them, even Ion. Like Ion's really grown on me especially the back half of season in this first season 2 chunk. Like that, unfortunately, we can't spoil, but he gets some really good stuff, and they've all made in that top 10 because like I don't want to see them go yet. Like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the finale is going to hold for this one, but I secretly hope that if we're heading into this interconnected universe and you start why start from the beginning? Like, why not just let them get new sets of powers and new sets of I want to see them more. Even I don't know. Maybe it's the Netflix model, but since I already spent what amounts to a week with them, I would love more than 2 weeks overall. So I don't know.
I agree. I think I've become a little spoiled. And I like this. What's crazy is, I mean, look, we always used to joke about the hiatus and so much time or whatever. But
hey, guess what? We're getting another hiatus.
Right, but it's a hiatus by design.
By design, right?
Yeah, and it's your design, right? It's your choice. Yeah. You can spread these out over 6 months if you want, but now it's all in your hands. So it's got, I don't know. I think that's kind of brilliant from a PR perspective of you did it. We put it all out there. Your fault. Don't come to me telling me that you did all the time. I can't help you. I made a show too good. That's my fault. That's what I would be saying if I was a PR person. Yeah.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, for sure. I am definitely looking for. I think it is safe to say probably by the end of the show, at least. Because I agree with both of you. I think those 3 will probably be in those top 10 discussions. I will have to include them as fan favorites, and that's, by the way, not to diminish Ollie, Javi, and Aeon. I like them all.
No, I vouch for them. I don't know how much that means, Matt, but I will vouch for them.
And they're awesome, and I love them. I'm just saying, I think. I mean, look, we're about to have 30 years of this stuff, and so many characters to put in those lists. It's just gets harder and harder every year,
right?
To make headway into that top group, and honestly, if you really think about it, a lot of people's top group still has half the damn cast of Mighty Morphin. I find this out every time I ask for a poll to create the Facebook header, because it's I have to get around putting just the core MMPR cast, because they will win always. It will win hands down. It's not even a thing. I don't even have to try. So everyone, it's kind of funny because everyone's why are you doing Jason but as an Omega? I was because I want to put some damn new art in the header, and if I just put Jason as a red, it'll never change. So I understand, but so for us to be getting headway made with these newer seasons and these new characters, because Beast Morphers, I love that cast too, man, and I love some of those characters too, and so for the past couple years, we've been getting some really great characters. We've been getting some really great casts. I'm excited for the future. But I'm a little spoiled.
Yeah. The past 2 casts with Dino Fury and Beast Morphers, there's just such a chemistry between all those actors, and they just seem like wonderful, genuinely wonderful people. So, I love this Dino Fury cast. I think I haven't liked a cast gel so much since the last Dino season with Dino Charge. Another great cast.
Yeah, it's also a great cast. All right, so that brings us to our close. Man, that flowed so naturally. It's almost like I planned it that way, but I promise you,
amazing.
I did not. I did not plan it that way. So they know where they can find us. Eric, if you want to shout out anything, if you want to let people know where you can find you, they already know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to rangercommand.com. We're on Twitter at rangercommandph. You can find me on Twitter at TrekkieB47. Hit me up with any Power Rangers, Star Trek, whatever. I love all the nerdy things.
Yeah, all the nerdy things. Nick, what you want to shout out?
Dino Fury season 2. I watch more than the first 3 episodes. No, I'm 100% serious. I'm on such a cloud 9 with what I saw. I'm just I believe so too. It is nice to see me happy. And usually Eric, you don't know any of this background information, but I come into these hot. I come into these very
such a curmudgeon. He's such a grumbly.
That's usually how it is, though. That's usually how it is. And now I'm just
it's not canon. That's
if you remember, Eric said multiverse comics and TV. He separated
I knew
those.
You were going to point that out. I knew you were going to do it.
I let it go because
You're so genuinely happy. It's a nice thing. It's good.
Watch a good season of Power Rangers. That's all it is. That's what it's good to have that energy again.
I agree. For me, I will say, of course, you can find all the stuff I write about on comicbook.com, and you can find my random ramblings about, I swear, everything from Funko Pops to wrestling to iCarly, because that trailer ruled.
Oh boy,
you leave me alone. I think that tweet that I tweeted, the iCarly trailer, is like the most popular tweet of Comic Book Nation's like history in like Twitter. I think I did. So people like it. I have an army. Damn it, you leave me be. Where was I going with that? I don't remember. Anyway, so you can find me at MagulRCB. And I also recommend that I need people to play board games with me. Because my wife shouldn't always have to be the person that plays games with me. So I'm gonna do my best to figure out some online options so I can play with other people and stop putting her through misery. So there you go. There's my outro. Thank you guys for everybody for joining us. This is sad. And we will be back in 2 weeks. So peace. All right. Boop-a-doop-doop.
Nice.
Oh, he just took off.
I know. There was no goodbye. Well, I will say goodbye for us then, Eric.
We're still live too. I don't even think he closed the stream. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.